Oh, I think the biggest stuff, the biggest thing was probably the level of trust and how we functioned. I mean, I was coming from a standalone store, so, and I was the finance guy at my store, so I was in charge of, our margins, our whole good settlements, all the daily business. And all of a sudden when I merged with Brian or joined with Brian, I was still in charge of that stuff at my store, but I did have someone who kind of set the tone. I mean, Brian's still, he's still the head of the ship. He runs the ship, and it's his deal. And that was the hardest thing for me at first, I think, was that I had to, explain my actions to this other person at that point. And we never had any confrontation, but that changed it for me. When we first joined up, everyone was a little apprehensive. Brian had acquired the St. Albans store 3 years previous, and he was still getting through some growing pains with that store. Then we joined up with Champlain Valley Equipment, and we're quite a ways away from Middlebury, 2.5 hour drive, so Brian wasn't here very often, and it took some time to integrate our store and what we did and our employees into the whole corporation. We're all learning who did what well, and where we could help another store. Like if we had a service manager that did well in a certain product segment, he could help the other store. And once we found out who did well what at each store, it definitely works smoother. There's a lot more trust involved. After we saw things were working well and everyone had the same common goal, we thought, is when we decided that it made more sense just to join the corporations. I think at our store, we definitely have a hierarchy of how it works, but there's no one that's above doing anything, and we don't have that level. But Jason's he's a good guy, and he had the aptitude to do it. He just didn't have the skills. He was never given the skills, never learned the skills. And I think when he started managing that store, is when he realized he didn't have these skills he needed, and he liked. I think he liked getting the coaching from us, and I think when he saw that what we were telling him, we were, and it wasn't to change your whole strategy, do this different or do that different. It was to come in and well, try this and let me know the results. And if that works, let me know how it worked and what didn't work. And then we'd feed him the next piece. Well, you've got that going and you've done that for 3 months and it works for you. Now I've noticed this isn't working at your store. This is, your guys aren't doing this, and we kind of guide them along that way. I'm definitely more of a numbers person. Brian is our leader, and is a great PR person. He does well explaining situations to the managers. I'm probably a little more blunt when I bring it up to him, so he does a better job. He's definitely more political about bringing up those situations. I think I kind of set the base of what we might have for issues, and then he can take it, and he knows how to approach it better than I do, or he handles it much better than I do. And I'll talk to Brian, and I talk to Brian probably 3 or 4 times a week, and I typically don't talk to him a lot during the day unless we have an ongoing issue, but at 5:30, 5:45 at night, I know I'm going to get that 20-minute phone call, and it's kind of a situation report is what he calls it in an email, about kind of what went on that day, what are the issues going forward, and what we're doing for the next few days.